What's going on, party people? I mean, goodness gracious, we're outside again. I got the birdies chirping. They're feeling good. They're feeling nice. How are you feeling? How are you doing? This is different for me. Mostly because when I recorded in the past, I usually use my other camera, so I had to flip the other way so I can see myself. But this time, I'm just using my iPhone, and I'm using the back camera to put it simply. So I'm used to looking at myself as I'm talking, so I want to try something different, and see how that works for me. Anywho's, welcome back to another episode of the Inside Perspective. This is for the dedicated healers. This show, this podcast, everything I do within the Inside Perspective is for the dedicated healers, the people that want to recognize their habits, make tiny changes. Make tiny changes, and be the best person that they can and deliver their best self to the world. And so that's why I do what I do. But nonetheless, I had my laptop open because I wanted to do a shout out to the dedicated healers that have been listening to my podcast. And so there's this awesome analytics thing when it comes to I feel like I'm screaming over the birds, but there's this analytics on podcasters for Spotify, and it shows you everywhere where people listen to you. And so come on now. And so I have Pennsylvania, Maryland, California, New York, DC, Virginia, Texas, New Jersey, Washington State, Colorado, Michigan, Massachusetts, Ohio, Tennessee, Delaware, North Carolina, Connecticut, Georgia, and Florida, right? But it doesn't just stop there. I also have India, the United Kingdom, Angola, Thailand, Canada, and Singapore. And so shout out to y'all, shout out to all my listeners literally across the globe. I speechless. I never thought that I would have such a wide audience, but it means so much to me that people are willing to sit and listen to me from 5 minutes to 55 minutes, talk about healing in life and the difficulties that come with it. And so that really brings me to today's topic. Um, so I speak a lot about how it's a healing thing and how healing is so important, and self-awareness and understanding why you do the things you do, even if they're not aligned with who you are as a person. Um, I've realized that I think my parents taught me too well as to how to leave people. They taught me too well. I wouldn't say necessarily how to give up on others, but my parents taught me to never tolerate or accept disrespect to any degree. Whether it was unintentional, intentional, it doesn't matter. The first sign of disrespect, you leave. Which is honestly pretty what's the word I'm looking for? Not hypocritical. um oh my god, I keep thinking of it and it's like escaping me. Nonetheless, it's pretty interesting just because I grew up with my two lovely parents, who love each other dearly, but definitely disrespected one another, whether it was through arguing, disagreements, whatever it was. They had that. And so me and my brother used to talk about, like, why would we take relationship advice from them? Mom, dad, if you're watching this, we already had this conversation. I love y'all. I respect y'all relationship. But we all know what happened. And so my brother and I used to be like, why would we take a relationship advice from them? But then I was like, well, because of what they've experienced with each other. Um, and so I feel like because of that, they instilled in us so much. And just for a moment, shout out to my parents for all of the work that they did to get to where they're at in their relationship now. Lord knows it was a journey. But I was telling my brother that I feel like they can talk to us in that essence because they see what it did to their relationship, and they see that if they would have made different choices or different decisions, and just how they spoke to one another and how they treated one another could have made all the difference in the world. Mostly with giving my brother and I the example of what a relationship can and should be. And so just to circle back to myself, I think because what I've seen so much in my parents' relationship and in their arguing, that I always wanted to make sure that I take care of myself to the 1 billionth degree. Like, I'll never need anybody. I can take care of myself. I can afford the shit that I want to do. I can buy the things that I want. I depend on me. I depend on me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's me. But the only thing is, when Aaliyah gets into a relationship, it kind of goes into overdrive. Because not only I'm a very loving person. And so not only am I giving that or affording that to my partner, I'm still also giving it to myself. And so because I do those things so strongly, excuse me. So because I do those things so strongly, rarely do I give my partner the opportunity to provide for me. In an emotional space, in a financial space, like whenever I say I take care of myself, it isn't just the financial part of things. Like, it's, if I'm having a bad day, it's up to me to fill me back up. I got so good at relying on myself that now I don't know if I know how to rely on anybody else. And my partner was the one who really brought this to my attention, because she's telling me, like, baby, I'm here, but you're not letting me. And me, I'm like, girl, what you talking about? You here, ain't you? Like, my interpretation of what I think a partner being there for me is so skewed that I actually don't know what it looks like for me. I don't know how to allow someone to be there for me. And because I'm so scared of, hold on. So I'm scared of two things, or intimidated by two things. One, how my love, or how my interpretation of love can impact the love that I'm giving to my partner. And so I don't want to hurt my partner while I'm still healing. And so for a while, I told myself that I just won't be in a relationship because I want to make sure. This also stems from my idea of perfectionism in my own, world. I'm going to make sure that I'm completely healed, or healed to an extent, so that whenever I am in a relationship, it won't be my fault. I'll just put it that way. Like, I'm gonna be real with y'all. Because I've seen so much how blaming in my parents' relationship unfolded into a lot of bullshit. Um, and so I thought in my mind, if I get to this certain point of healing, one, I to unpack that, one, I see that there was this feeling of unworthiness on my end, that I didn't want to be loved while I was still broken, because never broken. I don't want to be loved while I was still healing, because I don't want anyone to ever try to say that they were a part, or they played a part, or they did the thing that got me to where I'm at, because then they can use that against me. That's trauma from relationships. That's trauma from a couple different spaces. And so I got myself to the mindset of, I'm gonna do everything on me, because nobody's ever gonna try to take credit for the shit that I did, for the nights to where I cried myself to sleep, that I crawled myself out of depression, that I was fighting suicidal thoughts and actions. Nobody's gonna ever be able to say that they pulled me out the dirt. But I see now that that in itself is a toxic behavior. Because if I never let anybody in, if I never let anybody help me, how can I have substantial relationships when I feel as though I can rely on somebody? Now, I have good friendships, like a good handful of people that I know I can absolutely depend on. but still internally, I don't really allow myself to open up fully because I'm still working on trusting people, trusting myself with the selection of people I allow into my life. And like I said, my core group of friends, like, they've helped me through so much. So much. They've been there for me. They hear me, they listen to me talk about the same person that hurt me over and over and over, the same people that have hurt me over and over again. And this isn't just strictly romantic relationship. I've had coaches that have fucked me over. I've had coaches that have minimized my experience. I've had teachers and professors minimize my experience. And so it's really just my connection with others that I see, that I've experienced, that now after I had graduated college, I got to a point where I was like, fuck everybody. Like, I'm not depending on anyone except for the people that I have right now. Like, but now, hindsight's 2020, I see how me doing that doesn't really open up for the best connections. And that I still deserve to have friends and romantic relationships while I'm still healing. Because as I extend grace to my friends, because I don't expect my friends to show up perfect. I don't expect my brother, my parents, my family, I don't expect anybody to show up perfect. But I still have that expectation for myself, and it still creeps in whenever I have relationships or connections with other people. And so that's why I say I think my parents taught me how to be independent too well. But I'd rather have that and now unlearn certain things. And I might have even taught myself too well how to be independent. But like I said, I'd rather have that now than and had that now and unlearn a lot of the things that I have and now produce more grounding and open, authentic relationships with people than to have been fucked over and screwed over X amount of times more during that period of fuck everybody, I trust no one but me. But there's also a part of it, like when I said earlier about how like it wouldn't be my fault. I feel like there's a lot of times and ways in which I conduct myself, even when it comes to believing in myself, when it came to launching this podcast, when it came to the inside perspective, this is the only time to where I authentically just laid all that shit out on the table and was like, all right, take it or leave it. But there are times where I've had past connections where I may not have followed my gut or believed exactly what I said, or knowing that something wasn't going to turn out in a particular way, I wouldn't say anything. I would let it play out. One, just to be like, I can't tell the future. I never know. This person could change. But I think in me not saying anything or me holding back backfired so much worse than me actually speaking up, because in me speaking up I could have saved myself and the other person a lot of heartbreak, a lot of heartache, and a lot of confusion, because again, I didn't want to be the fall guy or the bad person. I didn't want to be the reason why something didn't work out. I still wanted to give it my all. And so that's when it came into me practicing discernment, because just because someone's there and available doesn't mean that they're for you. Just because something's convenient doesn't mean that it's love. That doesn't mean that you lack love or feel love for a person, place, or activity. It just means that there's a convenience to it. And once it's convenient, it turns into a habit. um, and it put me in a place to where I wasn't that happy. And then now it comes to me trying to speak up then, when I really could have had the open conversation before. Um, there's times where you should give things a chance, and then there's times where you should trust your gut and leave things exactly where they are in your journey. And I say that a lot because there's a lot of times we carry, we, all of us, carry things that I really don't need to have. I had a therapist once that talked to me. I was explaining, some situations I was going through, and she was like, "Do me a favor, think about everything you just talked to me about as books." She knows I'm a nerd. I don't care. I'm a nerd. I love science. I love books. I love reading. Um, think about everything you just explained to me as a book, and put it all in a book bag, and you're carrying that every single day. You're carrying it with you everywhere you go. Even when you're working out, you still got this heavy ass book bag on, carrying a lot of things that aren't for you to hold. um and so other people's emotions, other people's thoughts of me, all that shit, none of it was for me to hold. And now there are things that, should be in my book bag that are mine, but I don't need to necessarily address, that I don't need to carry around with me. So I don't need to address it in that constant state of living. She told me that I can have a bookshelf, because there are some people's feelings that you hold, like my lady's feelings, my lady's perception of me, all that's important to me. And so while I don't need to carry that in my book bag, I can still have that on the shelf in my imaginary land or mind of shit I be carrying around. Um, I've had probably one of the biggest hard, probably one of the hardest months in this past May. Thank God today's the 31st, so we can kind of carry on. But I was having some communication issues in some relationships. I lost my dog. I had to put my dog down. I had a kidney infection. I was involved in a hit and run. Like, it was a lot of things, literally a week apart, back to back to back. Like that first week, the communication process problems. That next week, I had to put my dog down. That next week, my car was in a hit and run. And like, it was a lot. It was a lot, but that kidney infection hurt like fuck. I'm not even gonna hold y'all, man. And of course, they had to keep telling me, you always have to make sure you pee after sex. Bitch, I know. How do you think this is my first UTI that then turned, you know what I'm saying? But I've actually been having some problems with urination to begin with before I even had the kidney infection. And so even going, I think it was my last episode I talked about it, but the importance of listening to your body and going to the doctor and not thinking, oh, it was just something I ate or just something I did. And it could have been, but rule it out. Go see a doctor or something, and just rule it out. So I have an appointment with a urologist to go get myself taken care of and looked at, but trusting yourself in all realms is really important, especially as you continue to learn your body and learn how you conduct yourself in this world and practicing discernment. Um, Listening to your body is so important. And I know it's hard to hear your own voice whenever it's clouded with so many different things. And that's why it's so important to take the time to meditate and to analyze your body and to figure out what's going on. Like, as soon as you wake up in the morning, I don't care if you have to throw yourself onto the floor. And I sometimes have to, because I'll fall back asleep because I'll call myself meditating when I first wake up. Throw yourself onto the floor, do a body scan. How does my head feel? How does my ears feel? How does my neck feel? How does my jaw feel? What are my shoulders like? Am I clenching my teeth? Look at your tongue in the morning. If you have a bunch of, like, I have it, but if you have a bunch of like ribs, like ribbles on the sides of your tongue, you're clenching your jaw in your sleep. That means you're stressed when you're asleep. So there's a lot of cues that happen throughout our day and our night that if we pay attention to, it'll give us a lot of answers to the pain or headaches or stomach aches or nausea that we're faced with every day. Um, Spend time with yourself, not only just to make sure your vessel, your physical body is okay, but that your internal being is okay and that you're connected with that being. Because without it, you may find yourself and a lot of situations that you really aren't meant to be in. But identifying that resolving and leaving, or leaving and resolving, excuse me, those circumstances, those situations is really important. You'll learn a lot. Shit, we've all been in situations that we really probably shouldn't have been in, but we were in them, and then now it's time to be a big human. I ain't gonna say big girl, big boy. Be a big human, and remove yourself. Take you and your being to a safer space. Hold yourself accountable for the hurt or the damage that you may have caused from wherever you're leaving from. And just because you caused that damage doesn't mean, or caused that hurt doesn't mean that you have to stay and endure more pain from them. Uh, that's also something that I had learned recently. um, but trust yourself, but then trust yourself enough to start to learn when you can depend on others and whenever you can believe in other people. Um, because although it can be difficult to trust others, it's such an amazing feeling to know that you have one, five, 10, shit, if you're lucky, 20 people that you can genuinely depend on no matter what. Um, so I'm gonna keep healing. Y'all better keep healing. We're learning more every day, new experiences every day, and just give yourself the moment to feel. Even if I'm there's so many times I'm my own worst enemy in so many different facets, whether it's not believing in myself or going back to certain habits that don't serve me, going back to certain areas or certain people that don't serve me. Um, Pay attention to yourself. I'd rather the correction come from myself or somebody in my very close knit circle, because I know at the end of the day they love me, they care about me, and they want the best for me. And I love me, I care about me, and I want the best for me. So there's times that we can't identify our own actions, so it needs to come from an outside source. But when it's coming from somebody that you trust, and you know that they love you, listen to them. Receive what is it, whatever lands with you, receive that. If it doesn't land, then let it flow. But at the end of the day, listening to the people that love you and listening to yourself and trusting your intuition is going to be your best bet. um so I got some exciting things coming up for me, long-term loading. But I'm gonna talk about them now and speak them into fruition, and I encourage you to do the same. So until next time, my dedicated healers, y'all take care of yourselves. And I'm gonna do the same. Y'all see the shorts? Come on, it's a healing thing. It's a healing thing.